Hey, everybody. Welcome to Dental Handoff. I'm Dr. Kelly Tanner. Today, I have with me Brittny Murphy, who is an amazing hygienist, who is a business owner, also myofunctional therapist, all the things, mom of twins. Brittny, how are you doing this all? That's always the question you get, right?
Some days I'm thriving. Some days I'm just surviving.
Yeah. And that's, I feel like as a mom, some days you just really don't know which end is up and you don't even know what your name is, much less, but you know what they need, right? Always know what they need.
We're taken care of. We got them covered.
Yeah. So Brittny, the question I always start with is why dentistry or hygiene for you? What led you to it?
Yeah. So I have such a not super traditional answer, I feel like. So I had wanted to be a dental hygienist since I was 7 years old, which anytime I tell somebody that, I mean, you probably might not think this, right? Because you're a dental hygienist, but when you tell the general population that, they're like, really? Like, you wanted to scrape plaque off people's teeth since you were 7? Blah, 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 blah. And then normally what I hear is like, oh, well, you must have had the best dental hygienist ever. And honestly, I didn't. And I think that is what I'm a very hard worker, go-getter. When somebody tells me something's not possible, I am so going to do it times 120%. And so my hygienist that I saw when I was little, I will never forget, she had to have been a smoker. I don't know this for sure, but she would hack up a lung, literally over me when I was in the dental hygiene chair. And she was mean and grouchy. And I don't really know what her deal was, but this is who my mother kept bringing me to. So I also had I don't think it was necessarily my diet. Honestly, knowing what I know now, I probably had a lot of mouth breathing going on as a child. I know that I used to sleepwalk and things like that when I was a kid. I had a very high caries risk. I mean, I had so many cavities as a kid, and it's not like my mom was pouring Coke down my throat. You know what I mean? So I think when we think about now the highest risk of decay, I really truly believe that that's mouth breathing. So regardless of what the root cause of that was, I was in the dentist office a lot. And I remember saying to my mom one day, because again, a 7-year-old doesn't know anything about mouth breathing, but I said to my mom, I was 7 years old. I'm like, you know what, Mom? I'm going to be a dental hygienist. And if I want to be a dental hygienist, I have to have a pretty smile. And if I want to have a pretty smile, I can't keep getting cavities. So no more soda, no more juice, no more candy. And I really did that. And ever since that day, I never changed my mind about wanting to be a hygienist. I wanted to go to school in Boston. I had no relationship to Boston. I was actually a Yankees fan because my father, trained me that way. But that was just my dream. And so when I decided to go to hygiene school, of course, I shared this with that dental hygienist that cleaned my teeth for all those years. And I remember she was like, well, you can't be partying all the time. And I'm like, you see me twice a year. What in my demeanor gives you the idea that that is who I am? You have no idea what I do at school or how well I've done thus far. And you have no idea. Yeah, it was wild. So even more so, that just kind of confirmed, you're going to do this. And I remember every time I'd go back in for my recall, I'd be like, you know what? I got an A in this and an A+ in that. And I rocked this and I rocked that. So anyway, so long story short, that's what got me to be a dental hygienist. And, obviously through school and everything and just learning more about that whole body connection. I mean, once you learn about that, you're just totally hooked, knowing that you can help people so much further than just giving them a pretty smile, which is what I wanted to do when I was 7 years old.
Yeah, that's all that you don't know. I mean, you just, you're helping people.
Exactly.
You realize that you're helping people, and that's probably something that drew that to you. That's so interesting. You can't be partying all the time.
Interesting. Yeah, right. I'm like, Ma, what's going on here? I'm a very well-behaved kid. I had straight A's in high school. I'm well-mannered. I don't really know I have no idea. It was so weird. And every time I'd come in, I'd say, oh, this semester I'm going to be taking X, Y, and Z class. And she'd be like, oh, well, that's really hard. Okay, Kathy. I don't remember asking for your opinion.
You showed her. After you graduated, you go with your diploma.
Right. So
and your transcripts.
Such an interesting way that I got into dental hygiene, but I absolutely loved being a dental hygienist. And I never once thought I'd get out of clinical hygiene until I went down the road of myofunctional therapy. And I was like, man, I have to do this. I have to do this. So,
because once you see myofunctional therapy. You can't unsee it's
Yeah.
so your pathway. I was just telling Brittany before we got on that I have been fascinated by myofunctional therapy forever because we have a mutual friend, Angela Richwine. Shout out to my friend Angela. She's been on the show. Opened up the door to it. But even before that, Brittany, I learned about functional orthodontics, and you learn all about that. And that was 25 years ago
Mhm.
that I learned. And ever since then, you cannot unsee it, and you want to talk about it. But then even probably now with as accepted or even more accepted than it was 25 years ago, people look at you like, what are you talking about? Right? Has that been your experience in the beginning or throughout this journey?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that hygienists are already in that area, right? I mean, we're literally in the airway all day long. It's just
Yeah.
kind of, so I also have a podcast. It's called I Spy with My Myo Eye. And it's literally just that, like taking your hygiene lens, not even off, but changing it just a little bit to get that myo lens a little bit more clear, because we're already there. We're already looking at it. We just weren't 100% trained in hygiene school, how to pick up on this airway dysfunction.
For sure. I love that you say that because literally it's like being at the eye doctor where they say, what about now? I'm going to flip this now. I don't want that hurts. But they're like, yeah, but then it's, after better one, better two, it's that, what about now? Okay. Is that blurry?
Yeah. Honestly, and I tell my passion project is really getting the word about myo out to hygienists. Now, I don't think that every single dental hygienist has to become a myofunctional therapist, but I wholeheartedly believe that every dental hygienist should at least be trained to recognize the symptoms of orofacial myofunctional disorders and be able to make a referral. You don't have to become a myofunctional therapist, but it is part of our duty and responsibility to be able to recognize this because we see these patients the most.
Yeah. What are some of the signs, Brittany?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, just kind of things you're already looking at, but switching those lens. So, when you're seeing these massive tori, right? When you're seeing these signs of clenching and grinding, my hygienist brain, when I was just a clinical hygienist, not knowing anything about myo yet, how many of us recommend night guards, right? I mean, it is one of the biggest producers in a dental office. And I'm not saying that every single patient that clenches and grinds their teeth absolutely 100% has an airway disorder, but you 100% should rule that out before recommending one of these appliances because it's not getting to the root cause, right? Like it's literally putting a Band-Aid over the teeth. It's going to protect the teeth, but why are they clenching and grinding in the first place, right? We're doing our oral cancer screening, right? We're looking at the tongue. We're looking at the underside of the tongue. When we talk about tongue ties, we don't get enough training of this in hygiene school either. Like we learn about true ankyloglossia when that frenum is attached, tip of the tongue anchoring down into the floor of the mouth. Those patients can't even stick their tongue out. But there are so many other degrees of ties that exist and that cause restriction. And when we are taught about tongue ties in school, we're taught about their impacts for breastfeeding. So in infancy, speech, and really not much past that, right? Nothing, I don't remember ever learning about, how the tongue's going to impact the way the jaw grows and develops and how that's going to mirror airway size and the way somebody breathes, sleeps, and thrives. Never. If I ever learned that though, my eyes would be like, oh my God, teach me more. What do you mean? Yeah. And I really feel that there's already such a connection, but I really believe that myofunctional therapy is really where dentistry meets that whole body wellness. It's taking what we already know to be that oral systemic link and taking it even further.
Mm-hmm. So true. And looking at the facial profiles of people and how they
that was your
facial profile.
I stopped answering your question. I'm so
No,
sorry.
no, this is but I'm sitting there thinking what else, right? Because of course, the tongue tie leads to the entire their airway development. And what does that look like when you're just looking at them straight on?
Right. And I always say your assessment, even my assessment in myo begins before I even bring that patient back to my room. I want to look at them in their natural habitat. So when they're sitting there in the waiting room, how are they sitting? Are they sitting up nice and straight? Are they sitting slunched over? How's their mouth? Is their mouth closed? They're likely nasal breathing, right? If their lips are closed, or is their mouth open? If their mouth's open, More often than not, they will be a mouth breather, not all the time, but they likely will still be a dysfunctional breather with that mouth hanging open. If that mouth is open, that tongue is going to drop into the bottom
Yeah.
of the mouth. There's
Right.
nobody walking around. Like if we were to all try that right now, like keep your tongue in the top of your mouth, but keep your mouth open. Like that
That would
just
make you,
nobody's doing that. So it's gonna slump in the bottom. Think about patients. Like I remember patients always whipping out their chapstick, during their prophy appointment. Like nobody should have to apply that much lubricant to their lips if they have their lips closed and were nasal breathing like they should.
interesting.
But yeah, I mean, you nailed it. Facial profiles. I mean, you can pretty much tell what somebody's occlusion is going to look like before even actually looking inside their mouth.
Mhm. Yeah. Sometimes they surprise you.
Yeah.
Sometimes because they can be, they can present a certain way, but skeletally they're different.
Right. Absolutely.
What do you do, Brittany, because I get this question all the time about different things. When a person takes a class and learns all about it, but doctor is not quite there yet. How do you bring that in and fold that into the practice to increase the awareness, to engage with the patients, how you know that you need to be?
Yeah. So, I think that this is a tough one. And this is one that I really resonate with because this was me. I took a myofunctional therapy class on my own accord. Not that my doctor was unsupportive, but it wasn't like, oh, like, yeah, totally go and do that. You're going to make such a difference, or we're going to integrate this, that, and the other thing into the office. No, it was my curiosity. I went, I did it. And then I kind of felt like I was leading a double life because again, he let me talk about it, but then it was like, well, where do I go from here? Like, I want to actually be able to help these patients, right? So for me in my journey, that led me to opening my own practice, my own private practice as a myofunctional therapist. And that's not everybody's journey. Some people are like, I don't want to do that. I want to do it in my dental office. And I think there's so much value in that because again, these patients you build this wonderful, beautiful rapport with, right? We are so positioned to be talking about this stuff with our patients. They trust us. We're already providing all of that education, right? So to be able to provide even more and have these conversations so easily with patients is a beautiful thing. But you have to have that conversation with your doctor. I think one, presenting it to them as an opportunity to educate the entire office. Like I took this amazing course. I would love to be able to share with you what I learned. I want to, the other hygienists to be able to pick up on things, your assistants, whoever, and just have literally like a lunch and learn in the office. Create an hour, presentation talking about what can they be looking for in the dental operatory. And then what do we do from there? Okay.
Right.
And having that conversation with your doc, like, I'd love to be able to offer this into your practice. Obviously you want to talk about the ROI because the doctor's going to want to know, well, what's in it for me if you're going to now be doing myofunctional therapy out of my office. So, having that financial conversation with them, are they going to be also investing in your education? Is it something you're solely going to be doing on your own? When you have that initial interest in a myo program, and you're thinking that you want to do it in the office, I do think that these conversations are best had in the beginning so you can kind of gauge where you're going to be taking it. So I have some students that totally integrate the program within their practice, even though they're not in airway practice. I have some who still are doing hygiene in this office and are allowed to self-refer. And the doctor's fine with that. Like they talk about whatever findings they had and they literally give the patient their business card and they're like two separate people. Like I'm Brittny RDH and I'm Brittny OMT.
Wow. That's crazy. But it's no different than when a hygienist is walking into a practice. I talked to a hygienist yesterday who was working between very different practices. One that's on board with all of the standard of care, and another one that was really lagging behind. So it was, how do you feel when you're leading that double life?
It's tough.
It's hard to do that.
And that's like, I kind of got to the point where I was like, I can't, like, this isn't sitting well with me anymore. Like it is not aligning with who I am as a person, the type of care that I want to bring, the type of care I know I can bring. And I just knew that unfortunately, as much as I love the dental practice that I worked in, it's just not where I was going to be able to grow clinically anymore. So was a really tough decision for me to leave my practice. They are my family. They came to my wedding. They came to my baby shower. Like, I love them. I still talk to them all the time. But I just knew that there was a way that I could help patients that I wasn't going to be able to do if I stayed where I was. So for me, the best decision was to leave. But again, it just takes that honest conversation to have with your doctor. And if that's the case, like, then maybe that is your calling. Like, maybe you do have to go out on your own. And if that scares you, that's okay. That's normal. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm such an open book. I love to share like my journey, kind of like my, failures that I had over the last almost decade of being a myofunctional therapist, kind of learn from my mistakes type of thing. Like, we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. If I can help you, I'd love to.
Right. Yeah, it's not even, I know what you mean by failure. It's just that, you learned a certain way because you didn't know. What I realized through it all is that at the time that you made the decision, that's what you knew, what you knew to be true. And so you move through that. And I love how you're offering the mentoring, because where you've taken what your experiences are, Brittny, is amazing to me. So now your day to day is much different. You have your own business. Tell people about that. It's such a cool story.
Yeah. So, like I was telling you, prior to having my girls that are a year now, they turned a year last Wednesday, I was still clinical in the office Monday through Thursday, seeing myofunctional therapy patients. The days would change depending on, like, summertime. I would, get out a little bit earlier because kids are home and not in school. So I was able to kind of finish up my day. But I would say typically on average, I was probably in the office like 9 to 4, Monday through Thursday. Fridays were always my admin day. Throughout this process and getting my name out there and collaborating and networking and whatnot, I've been able to build a really, really great team of myofunctional therapists. So we have 4 in-office therapists and 1 virtual therapist that works for my practice. And they have like completely held down the fort since I say on maternity leave. I just told my office manager this the other day. I'm like, we have to stop telling people I'm on maternity leave. The girls are a year old. Like, let's just say that I've kind of taken a back seat from seeing, as many patients as I was, and my schedule is just a little bit more limited now. But with that being said, really just collaborating and working has allowed me to be able to take a back seat from the clinical aspect. And I am able to be home now with my babies. And I absolutely adore that time. Like I was sharing with you before, as much as I love being a mom and they're my priority, I worked really hard to get my practice, to where it is in my career, to where I am, that it's not something I'm ever going to give up. So, I see patients, virtual patients. I do go in the office for a select few, just patients from, that I have seen previously that I want to make sure to follow through with their care. But I treat virtually at home, which is such an amazing option for those that want that flexibility. As much as we love hygiene, like that, you can't do that at home, right? We have to, you have to go into the office. Yeah. And I mentor, I teach what I do to other dental hygienists that are interested in either knowing about myofunctional therapy or becoming myofunctional therapists. I teach a course for you to be able to do that. I also am part of Tooth Pillow, which is essentially a virtual airway office. We provide myofunctional guidance appliances to children ages 3 to 12. Obviously, the airway docs are on that side of it. I'm on the myofunctional therapy side. Myself and another absolutely wonderful myofunctional therapist, her name's Laura Eckhart. We're the directors of the myofunctional therapy program, and I manage, co-manage a team of about 30 myofunctional therapists. And it has been so fun. These myofunctional therapists, a lot of them, we have an internship program. So they are able to come right out of their myofunctional therapy courses and like hit the ground running with that clinical experience.
Wow.
And if that could have been an opportunity I could have had, because that's the hardest thing, right? Like, you have to be able to get the patients in, and that takes a little bit of work. It takes a little bit of time to build
and the structure and the infrastructure.
So it's been so awesome to be a part of that and just watch these therapists just grow. Not only professionally, but honestly, personally as well. Myofunctional therapy and starting my own business and getting here and kind of changing that mindset. I think that the office that I was in as a hygienist, I always felt this hierarchy, right? Where like doc was here, I was here. And I love when I hear, hygienists come in and the beautiful offices that they're part of where everybody's really just this team, because that is how it should be. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, we're not all blessed with that. And so that was a big mindset shift for me when I first became a myofunctional therapist. And I was having these, networking meetings and getting dinner with oral surgeons and, orthognathic surgeons and, periodontists and sleep physicians and sleep surgeons. It's like, what? I'm just little old me over here. Like, I was nervous. And so I had to kind of like talk myself out of that and work on me and be like, no, like, you're the specialist. Like, you guys are here. We each have this own unique set of skills that's going to take that patient like all the way where they deserve to be.
And I think insert what you just said into anything. You are bringing in whatever it is that you know into the situation, regardless of what you think, regardless if you have the title, regardless if you feel like you have the right credentials. When you advocate for your patients and you put yourself in that situation to align yourself with what's best for the patient, Brittny, it's mind changing, but that's, I think, where people get stuck because they think I'm just a. So how did you overcome that?
I just honestly, I just literally told myself one day, like, you're going to do this. Like, like I said to you before, when I put my mind to something, like, I worked very hard. After I took my first introductory course, I took course after course after course. I invested so much money and energy and time. And I got to a point where I was like, I'm the problem. I'm the one questioning me. Nobody out there is questioning me. Like, what's that Taylor Swift mean? Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. I was my worst enemy. I was the one getting in the way of my own growth. And so when I kind of just had that dialogue between me and myself, and I was like, you know what? No, like, you're a rock star. Like, you can totally do this. Like, this information that can completely change somebody's trajectory of life, that this provider that you're meeting with has no idea that you even exist. They don't even know what your expertise is, and you're going to teach them, and you're going to completely change the way that they treat. And once you kind of just work on that mindset, and I always, when I teach my course and whatnot, mindset isn't something that you just work on a little bit and then you're good, right? It's continual. Imposter syndrome's a real thing. We all have it. Just giving yourself grace on those, not so great days, and waking up that next morning and being like, no, you know what? I got this. So yeah, I mean, I hope that that's helpful to, people that are listening. It's completely normal to have those inner dialogues with yourself. I talk to myself all the time. People, like, in the car, people must think I'm crazy or that I'm just really singing. I don't know.
It's and it's not, like you said, it's not just one and done, but how are you talking to yourself all the time? Because that's the voice that you're listening to the most, because you're the person carrying it through. And Brittny, with what you just said, a lot of what keeps people held back is that fear of what other people will think, that they will think that you're not ready, when really it's you thinking that, because you have already decided that maybe that they're expecting you to be here and that you're not enough.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. And what's that saying? Like, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Once I just accepted that, like, I made my way, and there's still times where that little voice creeps up in my mind and I'm like, shoot, go away. Like, I've got this here.
Right.
But yeah, you have to believe in yourself. You have to know your worth. And once you know your worth, you truly become unstoppable. I really believe that.
Because you get to define your worth. You are the one who defines your worth. When you place that outside of yourself, you got it backwards.
Oh my gosh.
Got it backwards.
I'm bringing up Taylor Swift again. You're going to think I'm like such a Swiftie, which I'm not going to lie, I kind of have become, because I love Travis Kelce. So over the last like couple years, I do have this like new slight obsession with Taylor Swift. I finally now like listen to her music and whatnot. But anyways, my husband and I just listened to the podcast episode that Taylor was on with Travis and Jason Kelce's New Heights podcast. And she had said something, because she's obviously, I mean, look at her. She has made her way all on her own, and it was tough, but she's at such a position right now in her life. And she said this, she was like, my time, my energy is a luxury item. And people can't afford it. And that's totally fine. But you have to treat your energy that way. And so paying mind to people that naysayers that maybe don't believe in myofunctional therapy, or maybe it's something you're interested in and somebody close to you is like, you're not going to take that anywhere. Like, you're not going to be able to start your own business and thrive and stop doing clinical hygiene and make a 6-figure income. Like, that's never going to happen. You have to, like I always say, I like to garden. Like, you have to continually like nourish your own garden, which is your mindset. And what you put into it, you will get out of it. But it is something you have to continually feed and nourish. And if that is, putting sticky notes on your mirror every morning. So every morning when you're brushing your teeth, you have whatever works for you as far as like, manifestations and whatnot. I believe in all that stuff. And I think that it really takes somebody higher places.
Oh yeah. Because when you change your mind, you change your mind. About everything. It changes how you see things and yourself in those things, right?
Oh my gosh.
I could talk about that forever. But I am always amazed that, I myself can experience things, you can experience things. Once you talk to other people, there is a common thread for what we've all been through. And it starts between the ears with how we see ourselves. And we may not, it may not be perfect, but I'm going to learn from it.
Oh,
because I have proven to myself time and time again that I'm going to figure it out. If I don't know right now, I'm going to figure out, as hard as it can be, as many tears as it may bring. People may look at me crazy, and that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Brittny, the work that you're doing is life-changing, and you offer courses too on myofunctional therapy. Where are those courses housed? How do people get to those?
Yeah. So my courses are taught under Airway Health Solutions, which is an amazing platform. We have courses for hygienists that want to become myofunctional therapists. We have a whole faculty of amazing, general dentists doing airway treatments, orthodontists, pediatric dentists. There is really just so much to be offered at Airway Health Solutions. So I highly encourage whoever you are that's listening, whatever role you play in the dental office, please do look into Airway Health Solutions and all the incredible educational opportunities that they have. And honestly, they are so generous. They host a lot of free master classes where you can have CEs. So get on their website, join their mailing email address. What is it called? Mailing list? That's not a mailing list. Email list.
Email list. Yeah.
Because you'll get notified of all of these. And obviously we all need CE. So to be able to, learn from amazing specialists, throughout the country, in these master classes and CE events, it's totally worth it.
Yeah. And you get to collaborate with the community of providers. I think that is so rich.
Oh my gosh.
Who think like you, not think like you, but are like-minded and who are all about the same things, and elevate the information, the questions that you're asking, and your perspective, That
is my favorite. Like, we tend to host once a quarter, just like a general myofunctional Q&A, because we have so many questions that are asked on a routine basis, and a lot of the same ones for hygienists that are interested in getting into myo. So if, again, you're interested in becoming a myofunctional therapist, be on the lookout for those Q&As. I do also have a private Facebook group called the Myo Hygienist, where I try to put in different, CE opportunities in there. And I have my own little YouTube channel where it's called Beyond the Dental Chair, where I kind of just chit chat a little bit. They're short segments, 10 to 15 minutes, but different things that you can start implementing into your everyday, everyday operatory, working with your patients, conversations to have, how to start those conversations. Some of us have been seeing our patients for a decade, and now all of a sudden we're spotting X, Y, and Z. So how do we have those conversations with patients? And my biggest piece of advice is just be honest. We don't know everything. We will never know everything. Tell your patients, I recently took the CE course, and it has truly just opened my eyes as a clinician. And I have to tell you today, as we're going through an exam and I'm noticing, whatever it is you're noticing differently. And I'd love to tell you what I learned and how that can relate to, I saw you checked off on your medical history that you snore, that you wake up unrefreshed, whatever, help kind of connect the dots, because that's the other thing. Like, we review medical history at the very beginning of an appointment. What you're finding on that medical history it's almost like I feel like I play like detective every day of my life. It can already cue you in to what you're going to find intraorally. You don't have to wait till you get in the mouth. You're already observing them in their waiting room, watching them walk back. How are they walking? How's their posture? How are they breathing? You're going through that medical history. What medications are they on? Hopefully you guys have sleep and airway questions integrated into your medical histories. If you don't, please feel free to reach out. I can send you even like the top 5 questions that you absolutely without a doubt should have in your medical histories at your dental office.
So helpful. Let's join her Facebook group and listen to the podcast. And thank you, Brittny. I have so many more questions. I'm just, I don't know. There's so much more to what we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. And I know that myofunctional therapy is evolving. And the more you know, the more that you teach someone else, and then it becomes a theory, it becomes a practice, the best practices. And that's the way every single practitioner grows.
Oh my gosh. And I'm still growing. And like, that's like the really fun thing. Like my introductory course that I have with Airway Health Solutions, it's like my little baby. I have a bunch of other courses that are housed there, but it's like the very first course I created. And it started out as 20 CEs, then it went to 28 CEs. Now we're at 40 CEs. And like, I'm always adding more because the more things that I find out, I want to share. And, I think it's really important too. One of my biggest pieces of advice for not just hygienists, because you don't have to be a hygienist to be a myofunctional therapist. You can be a speech therapist, an occupational therapist, a physical therapist. You do have to have like a healthcare license. The first course that you take, that instructor is likely going to become your first mentor, right? It always kind of just makes sense. Make sure that there is ongoing support and community, because you're going to have questions. Your mind is going to be completely lit up in a way that you can't even imagine. You're going to have questions, right? You're completely, you're shifting careers. It's a really great lateral transition for hygienists, because like I said, we're already in that area all day, every day, but you're going to have questions. So make sure, talk to the instructor, chat with them, make sure that their teaching style parallels your learning style. Because like I said, like my course is 40 hours. If you don't want to listen to me talk for 40 hours, you're probably not going to get the most out of that. If we don't like vibe, and that might sound kind of weird, but like if we don't, your listening ears are not going to be working at 120.
They're going to be like nails on a chalkboard.
Right?
If you don't. I think that's really, that's great advice. It's great advice. So be mindful of the community support, the learning methodology. If it's something that you need, that's something different than they're providing. Brittny, thank you so much for being on today.
Thanks for having me. It's been so much fun.
I know. Thanks for sharing all that you've done. And, I think what's so powerful too, is that not just what you've done, but you've done it alongside of all the other things that you're doing, because it's not this or that, it's this and that. We don't have to choose between the dichotomy of what we think that there is.
Oh my gosh. So true. So true. And for anybody out there, like, people are always like, you seem like you do everything with ease. Like, let me tell you, I struggle. I'm struggling. We had this conversation before. Like, I am navigating a complete new chapter in my life while still trying to manage all of this. So I'm with everybody else. I have days where I just have to be like, you know what? Give yourself some grace. Like, you don't always have to be at 120%. Like, it is okay.
Exactly. Well, for those of y'all who want more of Brittny and more about what she talks about, is about mentoring, it sounds like you offer that too. Her information is in the show notes. Please reach out to her. And for those of y'all who listen to the Dental Handoff as a podcast, I always ask the favor, please go on to Apple Podcast and rate us a 5-star rating. 5 stars, because Apple is the one that matters. Hey, and if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and press that little subscribe button so the algorithm recommends it to other people you would love. Thank you so much for your time, Brittny, and thank you all for the lives that you touch every day. And I will see you next time. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you.
Thank you.